Accessing library computer data.
And to make sure history never forgets the name Enterprise.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Penske Podcast. If you haven't tuned in before, this is a podcast where we are running through all 178 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, giving our thoughts and feelings about each and every one. Right now we're up to episode 17 of season 2. This one is called Samaritan Snare. Good Samaritan, right? That's how you pronounce it, Samaritan Snare. It was directed by Les Landau, written by Robert McCullough, and it aired back on May 15th, 1989. In this one, First Officer Riker leads the Enterprise in dealing with a strange new alien race called the Pakleds, while Captain Picard undergoes artificial heart replacement surgery at a nearby starbase. It's just going to be me talking about this one again, unfortunately. I apologize for that, but I'll get to it right after this break.
He's in danger. Great danger.
Can you be more specific, Counselor?
It's not our help they want.
Well, our help is all they're going to get. They can't force us into anything, can they?
You think they're weak.
Look at them. They're certainly not Harada or Romulan.
Our Betazoid counselor is often aware of things beyond our perceptive abilities.
Hey everybody, we're back. We're back to talk about Samaritan Snare. I always feel like I can't pronounce this one right. It's Good Samaritan, right? That's how you say it. You say Good Samaritan. Good Samaritan. So it's Samaritan Snare. This one, what to say about this one? Well, it's a real disappointment right after Q-Who that this is the episode that we have to watch right after that. I guess that's the be-all, end-all of this one. Not a very good episode. Really weak. There's basically two plots going on. So the Pakled plot is... I'm sorry there's so many P's in this, too. I apologize for if there's a lot of popping on the mic.
Enterprise.
We demand that you return our crew member immediately.
Request denied.
Lower your shields.
Request denied.
Stop it! What do you want?
You think we are not smart?
I think you need to continue to develop.
We are smart.
Prove it. Return our man to us.
You want him?
Yes, damn it.
Good. We want all computer information from your ship. Now.
The Pakled plot is the Enterprise has to deal with this race of people called the Pakleds who seem mentally handicapped, basically, and they're out in space and their ship's broken down and they lure the Enterprise in to repair things for them, and then they spring a trap where they capture Geordi LaForge, and they demand that the Enterprise, to get Geordi back, has to give all of their ship knowledge to the Pakleds. And the Pakleds are basically a race of people who are too stupid to do their own stuff, so they steal technology from other people, which is pretty much it. And I guess the title Samaritan Snare comes from the fact that they prey on good Samaritans. So there's that for you. And there's another B-plot, sort of. The Pakleds I would consider the A-plot. The B-plot has to deal with Picard and Wesley Crusher going to a nearby starbase so that Picard can have his heart transplant surgery.
I will not have you telling me what course to set.
As Chief Medical Officer, I am ordering you to report to Starbase 515 immediately.
Oh, please. I feel fine.
The truth is you have ignored this far too long.
This ship has a mission to carry out.
An astronomical survey to be conducted by the science officers, I believe.
And I was looking forward to seeing the Epsilon Pulsar cluster for myself.
Then we'll perform the procedure right here.
Absolutely not.
My staff and I are fully capable of giving you the replacement.
That's not the point. It would be inappropriate for you to carry out the procedure.
Captain Picard, I had no idea. You do have an ego, don't you?
We learned that Captain Picard got into a fight when he was younger, and he was attacked and stabbed through the heart, and since then he's had a artificial heart take the place of that one. And he's very unwilling to have people on the Enterprise know that he's having heart surgery, so he sort of sneaks off with Wesley Crusher. Wesley has to take a test or something. It's not really important. It's just to get him on the ship. So Wesley goes to take this test, and Picard goes to replace his heart, and all the stuff that comes out of that. So that's the plot breakdown for this. I'm going to just go through the two of them and give a couple reasons why this episode doesn't work and why it's so silly. So for the Pakled plot, this is a great example of an episode that the plot mechanics totally depend on the characters acting like dumb people. And it's fitting that they have a race that is essentially dumb people, the Pakleds in this one, because everything that comes out of getting the plot moving here results from the crew members making terrible, terrible decisions that the episode even calls them out. The first thing that's bad is Riker agrees to just send over Geordi LaForge to the Pakled ship, only just him by himself, without any kind of security crew, and they don't know this race, they don't know anything about them. And I assume they're doing it just because Riker is sort of making a judgment that they don't seem that intelligent. The problem is that Worf brings up, probably the only time Worf has ever brought up something correctly, that they don't know who these people are, and maybe it's not a good idea to send Geordi over by himself. We could send over, a team of lesser engineers, or we could, send over a security team with Geordi to protect him and all that. But Riker ignores that. He sends over Geordi. And then to continue the plot moving, Troy just comes in and says that Geordi's in danger.
He's in danger. Great danger.
Can you be more specific, Counselor?
It's not our help they want.
Well, our help is all they're going to get. They can't force us into anything, can they?
You think they're weak.
Look at them. They're certainly not Harada or Romulan.
Our Betazoid counselor is often aware of things beyond our perceptive abilities.
Just out of the blue, she just sort of walks on screen, and she's like, Geordi's in danger, we shouldn't have done that. Riker goes, he communicates with Geordi through the communicator, asks him if he's okay. Geordi says he's okay, and then Riker just says, yeah, he's fine. And Data has this weird line where he basically explains that Troy has extrasensory perception, and it's probably the worst line that Star Trek's ever done. It just highlights the fact that Riker is ignoring what Troy is saying. Real terrible writing that gets everyone into this kind of situation. So needless to say, the Pakleds capture Geordi. They shoot him a couple times with phasers, and it's very melodramatic, and people are very upset. Riker's getting up very upset. They can't attack the Pakled ship because the Pakleds raise their shields, and they have Romulan shielding or something like that. And that's really, that's pretty much it. They eventually trick the Pakleds into restoring the situation through some sort of convoluted means where they're speaking in code to Geordi, who somehow understands what's going on. And, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I apologize for how poorly I'm explaining this, but the episode really doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't go out of its way to explain anything that it's trying to get across. It's really, 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 really bad. That said, the Picard plotline is a little bit better. The Picard plotline is still kind of stupid. Basically, I don't understand why Picard has to leave the ship, which I'll get to, I guess, in a little bit. But the one saving grace of this episode, I think, is the backstory to Picard's heart situation, which he explains to Wesley while they drink tea and eat sandwiches, I think, on the shuttlecraft. Picard has this great story about being a young man, so cocky, straight out of the academy. And he was hanging out with some friends, and some Nausicaans came over and were bothering them, and Picard started to fight them. I think Picard says that he put somebody into basically a cross-face crippler or something. He had him in a joint lock maneuver, something like that. And another Nausicaan came up and stabbed him through the back, through his heart, and the knife came out his front. And he would have died if they weren't so close to a medical facility. And ever since then, he's always had these heart problems where he needs to have his heart replaced because I guess heart technology really hasn't advanced as far as any other medical field in the 24th century. So he's on this journey. He explains this whole thing to Wesley. It's a pretty good take. I think Picard is a little weird when he's telling the story, but in any way, the real benefit out of this is that it sets up a season 6 episode extremely well, and that season 6 episode is really fantastic. You don't really get that here. This is sort of a bare bones take on that, but it's still fairly interesting. It's a nice bit of backstory to get to. It's a shame that it's one of those things that it's just happening on the way somewhere else, and it's really purely filler until Picard gets to the medical facility. And at the medical facility, we get the wonderful plot development of things go wrong in that surgery, and apparently these aren't the best people in the universe to fix the heart problem. So they call for backup, and, spoiler alert, the backup is the Enterprise manages to get away from the Pakleds and bring Dr. Pulaski to the starbase, and apparently Dr. Pulaski is like the greatest heart surgeon in the universe, and she fixes everything. Which raises the question why Picard didn't just stay over with Dr. Pulaski in the first place. The show explains it as Picard is unwilling to have people know. He doesn't want the crew sort of gossiping about him or thinking less of him because he's got a fake heart. Which really makes absolutely zero sense, because I don't know if there was anyone, if you thought about this in your life, if you were like, if you knew somebody who got stabbed or had a heart problem, and you're like, I used to like Jim, but then I learned he got in a bar fight where he held off 3 guys who were threatening his friends, and one of them, took the coward's way out and stabbed him through the back, and he laughed. He laughed at that point. He got stabbed and he was laughing. And then, he has a fake heart because of that. I really can't respect this guy because of that. So it doesn't make any sense. It's ridiculous that Picard would think this is a weakness. It's not like he has high cholesterol or something and is morbidly obese and just needs to, get a new heart because he's been eating Fritos his entire life. You couldn't really get a fake heart from much more of a badass procedure. And as a nice little tie-in, the doctor says that he's in exceptional health, I think, which was a nice line. When Picard looked, he's in good shape. I don't know if I'd call him exceptionally healthy, but whatever. That's kind of the real issue with this episode, is that it's a lot of plot that goes nowhere. It's set up through stupid decisions that aren't really called for, and aren't particularly interesting. The Pakleds are a little bit ridiculous. This is the one time where Troy actually brings up something and no one listens to her. No one listens to Worf, who's giving the right idea. I don't understand why they can't just shoot the Pakled ship and lower the shields and beam Geordi off. None of this really makes any sense. It's purely plot mechanics holding everything together. When I was watching this, I remembered it being better than it actually is, but I also... I was watching it and I felt like I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if this is the case. I don't think it is the case. But I wouldn't be surprised if this episode was written in the first season and it just wasn't produced until the second. There's a lot of weird things that go on in it. Picard is grumpy Picard from the first season. Wesley says that the Klingons have joined the Federation, which would make sense if this was written before Heart of Glory, probably. If you had this be a very early first season episode where it was unclear what the relationship between the Klingons and the Federation are. Wesley specifically uses the word joins, which doesn't make any sense. He should have said allied or something. And if it's just a word mistake, it's a bad word mistake to make, because the Klingons have obviously never joined the Federation. No one's ever mentioned this before. No one mentions it afterwards. It's very strange. Grumpy Picard, as I mentioned. There's sort of a laziness to the plot. The plot is driving everything as opposed to characters, which is really a hallmark of the first season, why the first season had so many problems. When the plots are bad and they don't make sense and you're relying on them to drive the narrative instead of the characters in the show driving the narrative, it is not going to work out well, and that's exactly what happens here. The Pakleds are supposed to be funny, I think. They're not funny. They're really pretty stupid, and I don't understand how they even exist as a species. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It would be if someone was totally incapable of doing anything to survive in a real-world situation, and they somehow were, doing fairly well and also ripping off liquor stores in the same vein as they can't tie their shoes or anything, but they can actually hatch these complicated plots. And the show seems confused about whether or not they are actually stupid or if they just sound stupid. I think they are stupid because none of this adds up to anything. And they also get fooled through a pretty nonsensical plot thing that is, is an issue because I don't understand why the characters have to make it so complicated when the Pakleds are clearly not intelligent to understand what's going on. And the audience is also in the lurch here because Geordi just is like, give me 24 seconds. He disarms the photons that he's given the Pakleds. The Enterprise sprays some gas on their ship, and that's it. And they lower their shields, and it makes no sense. And the Pakleds don't question any of it. And then I don't even know what happens to the Pakleds after that. You think they'd be arrested or something, but it doesn't seem to be. They just seem to go off on their own. Weird episode.
We have fired. They will be destroyed.
They used their Crimson Force Field.
You did not shoot.
No, the Crimson Force Field has disarmed us.
They are smart.
We are not strong.
I really think that's it. I don't have a lot to say about this one. This episode is pretty garbage. I was considering giving it a 1, but I don't think I can. I think the Picard storyline saves it enough. I would consider this is like a very weak 2. 2 bordering a 1. I'll call it a weak 2. The really only saving grace is the Picard backstory. Everything else is sort of a disaster narrative-wise. It's not clean. It's not good. And it's especially a letdown after Q-Who. It's all very disappointing. So that's it. A 2 out of 5. What do you guys think? You enjoyed this one? Let me know. But thank you guys for listening. If you're on YouTube and you enjoyed the content, a like and a comment is appreciated. If you enjoy the content, you're listening on iTunes, a rating and review, very helpful, helps the show get out there, get a little bit up. And I will be back next time with Up the Long Ladder. I think Clay is coming back for that one. So that'll be good. Get a couple people in here to share some opinions. Maybe Up the Long Ladder is a better episode. I haven't seen it in a while. We will see, though. So thank you guys again, and I will see you later.